Well guys, it's finally here. Tears of the Kingdom is out and oh my god, I was actually right about the Sky Islands? Holy shit! Okay, compose yourself, dude. Compose yourself. Finally having this game in my hands and being able to play it feels like some weird fever dream. And I can't believe it's been 6 years since Breath of the Wild's release. And honestly, within the world of Tears of the Kingdom, it feels like some significant time has passed as well. Seeing all the familiar locations in a whole new light feels like seeing an old friend again for the first time. But I'm getting off track here. I definitely plan on making more videos talking about various aspects that have been adapted and reworked from Breath of the Wild in the future, but today I want to take an in-depth look at Tears of the Kingdom's intro. Something about it caught me off guard, and really, I think it's such an ingenious way to kick the game off with a bang. Without further ado, let's talk about the intro sequence to Tears of the Kingdom and why it's perfect. You know when games give you everything right off the bat to show you the pinnacle of power you're hoping to achieve by playing through the game? Yeah, well, I can't think of any either. Why don't more games do this? Anyway, I like to call this kind of game design the Metroid Prime design. It makes sense, because in Metroid Prime 1, you've gone through the painstaking task of gaining all these upgrades and power-ups, and it wouldn't make sense for you to not have those same abilities in Metroid Prime 2, but the game just can't start you off that powerful. So what's the solution? Find an in-game reason to lose it all. This sets up the final boss of the game super well, Dark Samus, as she's the reason you lost your power-ups. So you gotta go throughout the game re-obtaining those same power-ups to eventually confront Dark Samus with all your abilities at your disposal. For, I must say, a pretty satisfying conclusion. My only criticism of this kind of game design is, it feels kinda cheap to have to re-earn so many of your abilities that you already earned and had within the first game and get nothing back in return. But you see, I think Tears of the Kingdom did its intro sequence much better. Of course, you start off with the Master Sword, your heart's completely full, and your stamina gauge at max. This creepy music is playing in the background that gets progressively more and more creepy the deeper you venture into this cavern under Hyrule Castle. Zelda explains that people have been getting sick from the gloom that's circling around you within the cavern, something that you'll be seeing a lot of throughout your time with Tears of the Kingdom. As you venture a bit deeper, the Master Sword begins to glow, and when that baby glows, you know something's about to go down. As you study more of the cavern architecture with Zelda, you realize these relics must be from a long-lost civilization, the Zonai, who worked together with the Hylians to build the Kingdom of Hyrule, who then had to protect their kingdom from the Demon King. Right away, just from the intro, you have the major players and their roles within Tears of the Kingdom defined spectacularly. If you talk to Zelda, she questions why the hell would the royal family want such a significant part of their history hidden away like this? Well, you're about to find out. The music begins to reach its peak as you reach the end of the cavern, coming across this high concentration of gloom with a mummy at its center. And just from all the trailers we've seen from Tears of the Kingdom before even playing the game, we know this is going to be a huge moment. And that it is. Link gets his arm absolutely consumed by the gloom trying to protect Zelda, losing all his hearts and stamina in the process. Then, with one more swing, the Master Sword gets broken like a toothpick against the might of the mummy. Zelda disappears, and Link, broken and battered, barely gets out of there alive. Hyrule Castle arises from the ground as the mummy falls below, which, in a great twist, is probably where you'll have to fight the final battle, rather than fighting inside Hyrule Castle. When Link awakens, his arm has been completely destroyed and is replaced with Raru's arm. I absolutely love this, because Link losing his arm is a very real symbolic consequence of losing so much of his strength. If he had lost nothing and was still in a weakened state, I'd be like, meh, this is BS, give me my powers back. But although the game has taken away a lot from you, you've also gained Raru's arm, which, as you'll soon see, allows you to have other cool abilities. I like this in contrast to Metroid Prime 2, where there's no visual difference when you've lost your abilities, and you don't gain anything in return. Let's take a trip down memory lane and think back to Breath of the Wild's intro. Zelda awakens you while you're in the Shrine of Restoration, so you wake up, climb out of the cave, and into this massive, huge world that the game shows you is right out there for you to explore. The intro sequence finishes within seconds because you're out and about within the world, taking your first steps on the Great Plateau and obtaining new abilities, getting the paraglider, and all that other good stuff. Tears of the Kingdom, on the other hand, doesn't completely finish its intro sequence until Link has lost his arm and takes his first dive onto a sky island. While exploration is still a key focus and the sky is such a big selling point in the new intro, I think choosing to first set up the main antagonist in such a spectacular way was the right way to go here. Now I have more of a personal, driving force behind becoming stronger and diminishing the gloom within Link's body that's made him weaker. I want to be able to face that mummy bastard and give him a proper slash across the face for taking my arm from me and breaking my sword into a million pieces. Calamity Ganon didn't feel as personal in comparison, just because all the terrible events that had happened Link had already forgotten even occurred because it all happened 100 years ago. I want to talk about the new starting area though after you take your first dive. This new starter area that you begin exploring isn't all that different from the Great Plateau. There are 4 shrines for you to complete, each with a different puzzle to overcome before giving you a Light of Blessing. It's the same orb thingy from Breath of the Wild if we're being real. Collect 4 of them and you get a new heart piece or stamina container. But within Tears of the Kingdom, I think it does an even better job than Breath of the Wild did at easing you into the new mechanics. You see, with the Ultra Hand power-up you get from completing the first shrine, I could just tell that puzzles within this game are on a whole other level. You need to create this makeshift platform to get you across this railing, and while confusing at first, makes you start to understand all the different creations you can make by attaching different objects to one another, and how those creations function within the world. There was this gap I was trying to traverse by connecting these 2 logs, and for the life of me, I couldn't get it to work. Just look at this, what the hell am I doing? But then I really started to think about how this new mechanic worked, and voila! I figured it out within seconds. Thinking back to Breath of the Wild, a puzzle like this within the Great Plateau would have involved simply using magnesis to grab some random platform for a makeshift bridge. But this time around, the gap is simply too big to grab just any random object or log, so you have to go the extra mile to chain objects together to be able to cross. Or like when you have to make a makeshift raft to get across this huge body of water, whereas in Breath of the Wild, the raft was already made for you. I don't know, personally, I like this added depth to the puzzle solving, because while it may seem like such a small change, there are so many different possibilities now for puzzle solving with this change that become more apparent when you graduate from the game's intro. And that's just for Ultra Hand. You also gain the Fuse ability from another shrine during the intro, which is so crucial within this game due to the way weapon durability has been reworked. And fusing gives certain weapons different properties, like fusing an arrow with a fire fruit makes it a fire arrow, or fusing a weapon with a rock makes it a wall-breaking machine. And I don't know if they're in this game, but 10 hours in, I still haven't come across any bombs, so fusing is such a crucial mechanic to learn early on. And the way the intro island is structured encourages you to experiment with fuse to make your weapons as versatile as possible. I don't want to get too deep into this as it could be a topic for another video on its own, but in summation, just know that Tears of the Kingdom's version of the Great Plateau is on another level, just because the mechanics this time around are much more complex, and so the way the game has to teach you needs to be much more involved this time around. And I personally love it. In conclusion, Tears of the Kingdom, just from the intro alone, outclasses Breath of the Wild in so many different ways, and honestly, I didn't really think it was possible. I can only hope that the more I play, the more I'll fall in love with Tears of the Kingdom so that I can find more stuff to make videos about. But the intro just caught me off guard, and I knew I had to make a video analyzing the differences between the game and its predecessor. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, because I got much more planned for the future, like how Tears of the Kingdom fixed weapon durability, for instance. If you're interested, don't forget to hit that like button, dislike the video if you disliked it, And hit subscribe to stay up to date on more analytical videos like this one. Because if you don't, Link's gonna be upset with ya.